Hello everyone. I last introduced Thought for the Day 5 weeks ago, but just in case you weren't logging on then or don't know who I am, let me introduce myself. The name is David Williams, one of the members of All Saints Church, and I'm looking forward for another chance to share some thoughts with you which I hope will be helpful and a blessing to you. The unknown author of the New Testament letter to the Hebrews, as he signs off, encourages his audience with these words: "Remember your leaders who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith." As we go through the various stages of our lives, we encounter some people who make a particular impression and leave a lasting influence on us. This week I want to talk about 5 such people who have influenced me for good from my early years upwards. The first was a Christian preacher and evangelist by the name of Tom Brayshaw. My family attended an independent nonconformist chapel in East London, which when I was a boy in the 1950s had a flourishing Sunday school with no less than 250 children on its registers. When I was about 9 years old, it celebrated the centenary of the church's life and its flourishing youth work, with 15 days of special meetings, at which the said Mr. Brayshaw was the guest speaker. I remember just a few things about him. He was a stocky, red-faced Yorkshireman, and he kept his evangelistic kit and paraphernalia in an old Ford van. I was keen on cars and motor vehicles from my earliest years, and I used to notice such things. And he gave a series of children's talks with the aid of what is known as a flannel graph, a board covered with flannel material perched on an easel on which you can place felt cutouts of people or objects to tell a story. Though low-tech or no-tech, you actually can still get them. There's even a toy version around called Fuzzy Felt. The story from Tom Brayshaw that has remained in my memory is from the Lord's words in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 to 14. "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." Tom Brayshaw's felt cutouts of gates and diverging paths illustrated vividly to a young, impressionable mind the different paths and choices that are increasingly open to us as we grow and mature into adulthood. All through our lives we are confronted by practical and moral choices about the way we should choose, the path we should follow, the kind of lives which we should be living. The Bible constantly portrays our lives as a pathway and emphasizes that the best map we can have on that pathway is a good working knowledge of God's will and his ways as set out in the scriptures. As the book of Proverbs puts it, negatively, there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. But positively as well, when a man's ways are pleasing to the Lord, he makes even his enemies live at peace with him. I like to think that Tom Brayshaw, with his flannel graph and simple storytelling, was a lasting influence on the faith choices that I've made in my life, and has helped to keep me on the straight and narrow, as the saying goes. But all of us need to ask the Lord to point us in the direction of the right gateway, the right pathway, as we navigate life's choices. We need to pray that he will be a lamp to our feet and a light for our path. And tomorrow I'll move on to considering someone who influenced me in my teenage years.